Hello, 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 everyone. Welcome in and happy Monday. Fantasy Life right here with you for the next couple of hours. Kendall, Valenzuela, Adam, Ronis with you. And you know the drill. We've got Overreaction Mondays. The playoffs are set, and we are here to break down everything that we saw in Week 18. We've got a few pieces of breaking news as well with coaches being fired today. It's a busy Monday, Adam. How you doing? How's it going?
Yeah, doing well. It is always busy this Monday
Always.
after the conclusion of the regular season. It
Mhm.
was a little underwhelming as far as the games on Sunday and even Saturday, but we did
What? I
finish.
loved it.
Well, yes. Well, you did because your Seahawks won, but uh, not a lot of entertaining, great games.
No.
Will say though, last night's game, it looked for a while like it was going to be boring, but boy, that second
Oh
half,
my
specifically the
gosh.
fourth quarter, 27 points scored in the fourth quarter, back and forth, and then a field goal attempt to send
Oh,
the Ravens to the playoffs, and Tyler Loop did
I
not
felt
get it
so
done.
bad. Do you feel bad for those guys? Because I do. Wide right, and the moment is in your hands. I felt so bad.
Yeah, I look. If I were to be in the NFL, based on my size, I'd have to be a kicker. I would not want to be that. I wouldn't want to have that job. I mean, it's great when
Oh,
you
it's
win and you get
awful.
the game-winning kick,
Yeah,
and when you lose, though, you obviously get more attention and scrutiny. I mean, let's look. As someone kicks the game winner, it's usually still the quarterback that led them there, that they
of
interview with the
course,
running
of
back. They
course.
never talk to the kicker. If you lose, the camera's all over you. That walk to the locker room, the coach and teammates, you know, consoling you. So yeah, rookie kicker in that spot. I thought they should have done a little bit more to put him in a better
No
spot. They had
kidding.
some
I did
time.
too. They
They could
had.
have run
I
another
thought
play
they
or
had
two.
about 6 or 12 seconds, one timeout.
Yeah, I think it was
And I
about
was
13
shocked that they
seconds.
were doing that.
Yeah, I mean, you could have, put Henry in there. Maybe he picks up another 4 or 5 yards. Now, probably he's based on that kick, he probably misses. But,
Ugh.
you make it at least a little easier.
Yeah, you feel a little bit better about it, right? Like that's what it has to be. So I thought that game last night, you're right. Overall as a whole, like the whole week 18 was just not necessarily amazing. I don't think we were expecting fireworks, but we were expecting maybe a little bit more from that, but I don't know, for one last time maybe Aaron Rodgers kind of showed he still had it. So the Steelers ended up winning that game and the AFC North, which is kind of crazy Adam that that's what it all came down to and that we're talking about the Steelers like this, but Rodgers 31 for 47, 294, and a touchdown pass. Lamar Jackson on the other side, 11 for 18, 238 yards, three touchdowns, one interception on that. That was the deflected pass hauled in by TJ Watt, who they were obviously happy to have back. But this was just, to me, when I watched this game too, I think this was just the Ravens season in a nutshell. I just don't think that this team was deserving. There were some teams that we just said, do they really deserve to be in the playoffs? Should they be there? Could they have made a run? Absolutely. But the Ravens looked great to me offensively on their first drive, and then they kind of just went cold at him, and that's kind of what we've been talking about with them all season long. It was kind of a rinse and repeat thing with them. They just never figured out a way to play that complementary football, and I think in the end, that's really what killed them in this game.
Yeah, and it's absolutely brutal for Lamar Jackson the year that Kansas City is down and Patrick Mahomes is out of the playoffs in the AFC, and they do not even get to the playoffs. It's just a letdown. And yeah, they just had a lot of things go wrong. And this game was symbolic, as you mentioned, of kind of their season in a nutshell. They were dominant on the first drive, and then they were really quiet offensively
Yeah.
until the fourth quarter. And Lamar Jackson bailed them out in a couple spots, especially with that first touchdown to Zay Flowers. All of a sudden, receivers on both sides were wide open in the fourth quarter.
Yeah. It was I don't know. It was weird. I don't know. Where do the Ravens go from here, Adam? Because of course Lamar Jackson's asked at the end of the game, like, what's the future look like? And I think the quote was like, I'm too shocked to even think about my future and Harbaugh's, because I think he was asked about both of them. Because the big question was, and I asked this on LGTV, are these two coaches for that Sunday night game coaching for their jobs? And I'll be really curious to see like what the Ravens do end up doing, because this was a total kind of failure of a season, coming off of one that we just thought, well, they're going to continue to just be one of the top teams in the NFL. Obviously, Lamar Jackson with his injuries and not being able to play as much. Derrick Henry looked like he took a little bit of a step back with Father Time kind of knocking on his door. But how do you assess their season as a whole?
I was very disappointing again in this wide open AFC. And I think Other teams probably felt that way. They didn't want the Ravens to get in because if somehow they can get hot and Lamar Jackson returns, maybe not to full health, but you
Yeah.
saw some of the things he could do in this game. So I'm pretty sure other teams did not want Baltimore to get in just because of their pedigree, what they've done in the past. But you
Mhm.
just felt it all year, even when it looked like they were making that run and they became favorites to win the division. It just never felt right. So I
Yeah.
could see them making a change and Harbaugh gone. It's been a long time. He's had success here, but we all know at a certain point, sometimes that voice just reaches an expiration date. And I
Mhm.
think we're probably there with Harbaugh right now for Baltimore.
It feels like it. It feels like there's been talks. Like we've heard rumors about that for the last month or so. And so maybe that's what happens, but they're fully assessing everything right now. And we know that for Pittsburgh, they play the Monday night game. So it's going to be the Houston Texans traveling to Pittsburgh. I see the opening. Well, this might have moved actually, but the last time I looked, 39.5 point total on this one. And the Pittsburgh Steelers were underdogs at home. But it should be a fun playoff race nonetheless, because there's really, like we said, there's no superstar team except maybe the Seattle Seahawks, and we're going to talk about that game. But we were
Whoa,
just,
slow down with
hey,
that.
what? Come on, wait, come on. The Seahawks looked good.
No, that was a
That was a
very
great game.
impressive performance. Their defense really just shut down the 49ers. That was an
It
offense
did.
that has been rolling for weeks. Now, the opponents definitely played a part, but they just dismantled the 49ers offense. Like they could never get it going. You never felt they would. And they did just enough offensively. Obviously, the ground game was great with both Walker and Charbonnet. But of course, Charbonnet gets the
No,
touchdown
naturally,
because
that's
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 what
what
they
has to
do.
happen.
And yeah, Sam Darnold didn't make the mistake. He came close a couple times, but this is what you want. You
Yeah.
manage the game. But the Seahawks could win in a variety of ways. We saw them have that shootout with the Rams as well. So that's the sign of a good team. They can get it done offensively, putting up points. A game where they don't do much offensively and are conservative on the ground, and that defense is really good. So getting that 1 seed in a year like this, where teams are pretty evenly matched, it's
Hmm.
massive because now one less game that you have to play, worry about injuries. So yeah, that was massive for Seattle to get that win and go to 14-3.
Yeah, we were. I was nervous every time Sam Darnold popped up on the screen. I was like, okay, just don't mess this up. Everything's gonna be fine." But I was thoroughly impressed. It was kind of a game that you wanted to see them play like that, and they were able to do it. I mean, entering the game, the 49ers, to talk about just how good their offense has been, they were averaging 373 yards and 35 points per game in Brock Purdy's 6 starts. Then they come into this from his return, I should say, from the toe injury week 11, and then they come in and the Seahawks limit them to 173 yards, 3 points. And so it was one of those big games that they just needed. I think I saw a stat that when we're talking about the running backs, like you had Charbonnet and Kenneth Walker have as many rushing yards or nearly as many rushing yards as the 49ers had total yards, because they finished with 171 for the two of them, and again 173 for the 49ers. So yeah, it was a lot of quarterback hits, 3 sacks, an interception, 5 total passes. I think it was just like batted down defense, however you want to say it. So I was so happy on Saturday, Adam. Sigh of relief. This weekend, I can just hang out, chill, maybe make another lasagna in 2 weeks. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be fantastic.
Yeah,
Nothing can go wrong.
just get to enjoy the other games. But yeah, holding McCaffrey to
Oh my
14
gosh, that
touches
was
for
crazy.
57 yards. And Purdy only 127 passing yards.
Mhm.
That was a beatdown. I said that and someone responded like, "No, it won't. No, it wasn't." I'm like, "Yeah, it was. What
What?
are you
Yes, it
watching?"
was.
Like
What?
that was complete domination. I mean, the 49ers couldn't even get first downs. They only ran
Mm-mm.
42 plays. I mean,
Yeah.
Seahawks had the ball the entire game, and that's what you do. But like, yeah, the 49ers offense was putrid. Like you got
Oh, it
to
was bad.
credit the Seahawks defense for that.
It was one of the worst, I think one of their worst outings that we've seen, at least with Shanahan in there. Because even too, like if you go deeper into those stats, like they were leading, entering that game, they were leading the league in third down conversion rate, 51%, and they went 2 of 8. And again, the performance just wasn't there. But I think that's more credit to, I think this team can still show up in the playoffs. I think this is more
You
credit
do?
to,
I'm
you
very
don't think
worried about
so?
them
I don't think
going
their
to
defense
Philly.
can turn around. I don't think their defense can turn around, but I do think they can score. You don't think
Playing
so?
Philly though, nah, I think they're in trouble.
Let's see, 46.5 point total in this one. This is San Francisco traveling to Philadelphia. What day is this game?
Saturday.
Sunday.
Oh, Sunday, the middle
Sunday,
game.
yeah. And then they're obviously underdogs in this one. I think they can score points. I don't think they're going to win this game, but there's nothing that they can do about that defense because I had someone, message me saying like, "Oh, well, the defense needs to turn around." And I just think that that's kind of a lost cause, right? There's nothing they can do about that because of the injuries. You're not going to get any of those key players back. You just have to hope that offensively they can march down the field and score to keep them in this game for against the Eagles.
That's been their path to success over the
Yeah.
last few weeks is just winning these high scoring games. I mean, 42-38 against the Bears. We remember that game. 48-27 against the Colts, 37-24 against the Titans. So, the teams that didn't score against them are the Browns and the Panthers. I mean, two bad offenses. So, yeah, it's going to be tough. And we know Philly can be up and down at times, but I think this is a really tough spot for the 49ers. And the one thing, though, as we said, you look at all the lines for the weekend, every game is 3.5 points or fewer
It's
except
crazy.
Rams Panthers.
Ah. You wanna bet on the Panthers? That could
Hell
be fun.
no.
What would they have to do to get you to bet on them?
I mean, a
Nothing.
lot. Well, it was double digits. It's dropped.
Oh,
I see
was
it's
it?
9.5.
Oh,
So
okay.
the fact
Ooh,
that it's
double. What
below
did it
10
open it
now.
up
I
as?
saw 10.5
Oh
last
my
night.
gosh. Oh, I still see 10.5
Do
actually over at
you? Okay.
FanDuel. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess it depends on the book. But
Man.
yeah, the Panthers backed into the playoffs. So
That was the game that I said if we have time in the rundown. I was like, if we have time, we can break this game down because it wasn't, I mean, it was probably exactly how we thought it was gonna go, right? Because you watch that game, you say, "Oh, okay, Tampa was able to pull it out. That's great." And then you're like, "Well, they can't celebrate because they need the Falcons to win." It just didn't work out. And the Panthers, yeah, there's not really a lot to say there because I think everyone's looking at that as a first round exit from Carolina. And that might be what we get. I mean, stranger things have happened, but again, them hosting is big, going up against the Rams. But Tampa Bay, I think the more of the spotlight was on Tampa Bay and just the absolute free fall that they put themselves in over the last 2 months because they started the season so hot, and then Emeka Buka was looking good, and now all of a sudden you're looking around saying, is anyone going to, we don't want guys to lose their job, but is anyone going to get, fired because of this? Because that was just an utter collapse.
yeah, it definitely was losing 7 of their last 9
Ugh.
games. They started 5-1 and 6-2, and it was bad. And if they had played anyone other than the Panthers, they might have lost. I mean, they just
Yeah.
lost to the Panthers a couple weeks ago by 3, and just some bad losses down the stretch where you need to win these games, and they couldn't get it done. And then anytime you rely on help from someone else, you have no one to blame except yourself. I'm sure Tampa Bay feels the
Yeah.
same way. But yeah, this was just a extremely disappointing season for them. Even though it did end with a win, uh,
Did they
three-way
really
tie for
win?
the division at 8-9.
Yeah. Which was crazy for the Falcons because then the news came down that they were firing Raheem Morris and their GM. So it wasn't, because I was a little bit, I don't know about you, I was a little bit surprised when I heard the news about Raheem Morris. I said, really, it feels a little early. But then once I learned that they were kind of cleaning house and just saying, well, we're going to send the Terry their GM with them, I said, okay, well, that makes a little bit more sense. But Raheem Morris that was 2 seasons. So I was just then he also served as an assistant coach 2015 to 2020. Was hired as their head coach 2024. So I understand it because I think they need someone to come in and just kind of figure out what they're going to do with Michael Penix Jr. I think a lot's on the line here with the legacy that the team's going to come down to and the fate of maybe two players, Kyle Pitts and Michael Penix Jr. They've had good draft picks too. Like that's the other thing, but they just wanted wins. So Falcons are out of their head coach and their general manager.
Yeah, they don't give you much of a chance in the NFL nowadays. They want
No, they
immediate
don't.
results, and 2 8 and 9 seasons. And I think this one was more disappointing just because the division was there. They
Hmm.
could have won this division, and yeah, they did play better down the stretch, but it took too long. And then you have Penix at quarterback, who you spent the first round pick on, and yeah, he got hurt, but he was not looking good before that. They spent a lot of draft picks at the beginning of this draft this year to shore up the defense, and they weren't good overall. They improved compared to
Yeah.
last year, but it
Yeah.
still wasn't great. So yeah, they did finish well, and they played better, and they played spoiler, but it wasn't enough to save the jobs of both guys.
It's just like, imagine if they were playing like that all season or even in the middle. We would be talking about the Falcons right now going to the playoffs. And I don't even think it would be close if they were
And
able to
I
do that.
think we can all agree the Falcons are playing way better football than the Panthers right now.
Oh,
Do
1,000%
you
for the
know the
most part.
game that really cost the Falcons? They lost to the
Ooh.
Jets 27-24.
Oh, they did.
If they
I
win
forgot
that
about
game,
that.
they actually might be in the playoffs because, yeah, they did win
Wow.
5 of their last 7 games and 4 in a row to conclude the season.
That's what I'm saying. If they did that in the middle, I mean, because they were surging at the well, it was the right time and the wrong time, right? Because they were basically they how long ago were they out of playoff contention? It was a
December.
few
So it's
weeks.
funny. They were eliminated in early December. I
Yes.
think it was like uh, 8th or ninth, and they wound up being tied for the division lead.
Which is just insane. Like imagine just doing that the whole rest of the way. But yeah, these things happen. I can imagine, Adam, that we're going to hear about a lot of other head coaches potentially being fired. Maybe not today, but throughout the rest of this week, because that's just what happens. And like you said, there's not a lot of patience, I guess, around anymore. So the Falcons again did fire their head coach Raheem Morris. Their GM's going with them as well. So we'll see if he lands. He will where he lands anywhere else. I imagine that maybe they go. I don't know. You think they go for an offensive-minded head coach? Try and go that direction? Because Penix is really what I mean, they're tied to him. They have to figure out if that's going to be right. Kirk Cousins, obviously, the money that's tied up with him, it doesn't feel like anyone's going to be coming in to try and take him. And also what we saw at the end of this game probably wasn't too great. Kyle Pitts is a free agent, so what they're going to do with him. They've got the thing is they do have pieces, especially on the offense. Like Drake London, who we've talked about, that was the first round of 2022. Their pick, Bijan Robinson, 2023. Algier was kind of a hit for them as well, fifth round 2022. So they've got those pieces on offense. It's just what they're going to do with them or whoever comes in if they're going to be able to make it work.
Yeah, I mean, having Bijan, who I think is the best running back in football, that's a nice piece.
Oh yeah.
London, too, he's clearly a number one. Had some injuries this year. And then, yeah, what do they do with Pitts? Do they bring him back? Because he did finish the season strong. But, yeah, there's some pieces there. And, they drafted some players on defense. So, look, that division is so bad, too. So
It
if you get
is.
if you
It
get the right
is.
coach in there, because I don't see it getting better next year, that division.
No. No, I don't. Again, we don't really know what's going to happen, but it was just like it was just a free fall, and you were just looking around saying, "Really, this is what we get to have in the playoffs," which is like no offense to them, but it really was a genuine question of like of all the teams that we could have seen like this division in the NFC South, like the Panthers, I think are playing with house money. I think they're kind of be one of those teams that we say, wow, this maybe could have happened next year. And so I think it's, came on a little early. Tampa Bay, maybe they can turn it around. I just don't know what they're going to do in the offseason. And I think the Saints have a good foundation too, although it didn't show very much throughout the season, ending 6-11. But I do think their month of December was at least, you know me, I'm going to try and be optimistic. I think it was at least a great way to end. And I think they do have enough in Tyler Shuck to be able to maybe use him as a quarterback next year because the quarterback class coming in is not necessarily amazing. So if you don't want to go look at the free agent quarterbacks, if you don't want to go to the draft, I think he's done enough to at least get some kind of competition in there, be able to compete for that starting job in 2026.
Yeah, no, you have to like what you saw from them down the stretch for sure.
Yeah. That's all. That's all the nice things we can say about the Saints. Hey, Chris Olave for us in fantasy. There we
He
go.
was
That's what we
great.
can say. He
He
was
was,
fantastic.
yeah, and it looks like he'll be okay from that blood clot
Yeah,
issue.
that was scary.
Yeah,
What the
came
heck?
out
He
of
gets
nowhere.
he gets some bad luck sometimes.
Yeah,
When I
the
read that, I was
concussions.
like, "What? A blood clot? Good thing they caught that when they did too, because that's kind of scary." So it does, yeah, it does look like he's going to be okay. Obviously, didn't play in that final game of the regular season, and they're not going to the playoffs. So I think it's like a month recovery time, but he's not
Oh,
going to
real
miss you.
quick, I just want
Oh
to say
yeah,
something.
what?
Congratulations to the Giants on a massive win. That was very
Oh stop.
impressive.
Are you being sarcastic?
Yes.
Okay, got it. I couldn't tell sometimes. That was 34-17. They messed me up in my pick 'em. I picked the Cowboys. What's going on?
Uh,
Good thing you didn't go to that game, by the
oh
way.
yeah, there's no
You would have
way.
been pissed.
But look, they took out their starters in the second half. There was some
Yeah.
talk of that during the week that Dak wasn't going to play the whole game and they would get Milton in there.
I think we figured that they weren't going to play him the whole
Yeah.
time, right? Like I just didn't think that was going to happen. But yes, clip that so that we can get Adam saying congratulations to the Giants every week of 2026. I absolutely love it. All right, it is Monday. It's an overreaction Monday, so you know that's coming up next. We want to see your screenshots too. I got a couple this morning, Adam, of just teams that won championships. Sometimes we have teams that go through week 18, so I saw a couple of them come in, and we'll shout you out here at Valenzuela 17 at Adam Ronis over there on X. But overreaction Monday, what is the playoffs? What are the playoffs going to look like with Josh Allen? We're going to talk about that and more here coming up next. It is an overreaction Monday, week 18 in the books, and we are done with the NFL regular season, which is just absolutely crazy, Adam, because we say this every year. It feels like it went by so quickly, and it did. But now we get the playoffs, which will be fun nonetheless. But it really did. This year felt very fast, and I think it was because of all the everything across the NFL. It felt like any given day, right, that we could have someone else come in here and win. And that's what we saw. Look at the playoff picture. It's just, I'm excited for it. It's fun.
Yeah, for sure. I don't recall it being this wide open in the playoffs. Usually there's like a heavy favorite or two, and I don't think we feel that way this year. The odds
No.
reflect that as well. So it does make it interesting. And again, the lines are reflective of that this weekend. Of the 6 games, 5 are 3.5 points or fewer. The
That's
one
crazy.
being double digits is Panthers Rams. Now I do see it again at 10.5.
It's because we were talking about it. People are
Yeah,
like, oh,
people are
10
like,
and a
wait,
half for the
Panthers
Rams?
are in
I'll
the
take it.
playoffs against the Rams? Yeah, let me bet up the Rams.
Oh my, could you imagine though, if the Rams mess that up? They won't, but that would be crazy.
Uh, we've
They
seen
won't.
wild things happen this year.
That's
The one
true.
thing about
That's
the Rams
true.
is they really have not played well here down the stretch.
Well, they need
I know the
Devontae back
final score
really
shows
bad.
17 points over the Cardinals, but that was close for a good portion of the game. And the Cardinals actually took the lead in the second half.
Yeah. I was watching it like, they're not going to do this, really, are they? But yeah, they had moments where they could really control their own destiny, and it just didn't work. Starting with that Thursday night game, and then just kind of trickling down from there. So we'll be breaking down those playoff
Also,
matchups. Yeah.
I mean, you have to be a really bad football team to take away that 4:30 p.m. Eastern slot from the Houston Texans. So give credit to the Panthers that they were able to get themselves in that spot.
Uh, I just, yeah, it might be brutal, but we'll see. Like you said, stranger things have happened. So we've got 2 games Saturday.
Yeah,
It's the Rams Panthers, and then Chicago, Green Bay, which is on, that one's streaming on Amazon Prime. So just
yeah.
keep that in mind if we're talking about, because you need like every single streaming platform, Adam, to watch these playoffs, which I just think is absolutely ridiculous. But that one's on Amazon Prime. Then Sunday we've got the rest of the three, starting with Buffalo at Jacksonville, San Francisco at Philly, and then the Chargers at New England, which I think that one could be a fun game. But yeah, the totals are kind of sitting at the same 46 and a half, except I see 51 and a half for Buffalo, which kind of leads me to my question here with an overreaction Monday. So, with no Mahomes, no Burrow, no Lamar Jackson, do you think it's finally time for Josh Allen? I just, the biggest thing that I keep going back to, Adam, is the offense. Like, can it be enough? And we know that Josh Allen can be a superhero. Like, he really can put on the cape, and it could just be him and Cook the rest of the way. But with the lack of weapons, I just get a little bit nervous that there's only so far that they can go. But I'm curious what you think.
Yeah, I'm concerned. I mean, yes, we talk about quarterbacks a lot, and a lot is put on the shoulders of Josh Allen, but you've just never got the feeling this year that this team is the same as recent seasons. The offense is a major problem with those wide receivers. They just can't get a consistent passing game going, and they get a tough draw here. Jacksonville's
Mhm.
one of the hottest teams. Yeah, I'm worried. And you look at the odds. I mean, Bills are sixth to win the Super Bowl at plus
Oh, really?
1,000.
Wow.
Yeah. So the AFC teams ahead of them are the Broncos and the Patriots.
Wow.
So
I
I mean, they do have higher odds than Jacksonville. So
Okay.
and
I
then
don't know.
to
I think Jacksonville could, and maybe that's just me going with the trendy team. We like trends.
yeah.
They're pretty trendy, but the Bills don't. I mean, on the other side though, the Bills don't have much talent on defense. Like if we're talking about I think their run defense is something that we've talked about before, where coming into one of the league's worst run defenses for most of the season. So you can't have that issue. You can't have an issue stopping the run in the playoffs. And so we've talked about ETN before, but it's like we've talked about with some of these other teams where we say it's wide open, but this is the year for Josh Allen, if they want to do it, to not have to face, Mahomes, to not have to face some of these other teams. It is open for them to be able to do it. And like I said, I think he's good enough where he can put on the superhero outfit and take them far enough. I just don't know if it'll be far enough to get to a Super Bowl, but that's the one thing I'm looking at for that team. Same question to you, Overreaction Monday. So what if I told you the Broncos aren't perfect? They're not a perfect number 1 seed, but they can reach the Super Bowl because of the same reason, because it's a wide open field. Do you think they have enough to go ahead and do that?
I do not.
Okay.
They're a team I would not pick. They've really played a lot of close games this season. They've been fortunate to get those W's. Even yesterday with the Chargers playing no one, they were very conservative. I understand that, but yeah, I don't see it. I know they have a really good defense. I know that they are tough at home, but I do not see them coming out. Just look at their wins. I mean, everything is
Yeah.
7 points or fewer. A lot of 3-point wins, 1-point wins. Just a lot of close wins, and we know how that can easily change in the playoffs where you don't get that same luck, a bad turnover. So yeah, I am worried about Bo Nix in the postseason too. So yeah, I would not pick Denver to come out of the AFC.
They've rarely been dominant, right? You went through all those games. I mean, those were close games in the regular season where we didn't really see. I can't remember. Was it the Cowboys where they did just kind of dominate
Yeah, they
in
won
that game? Yeah,
44-24. Thanks
of
for the
course.
reminder. I
Sorry,
appreciate
I
that.
just
No,
had to throw it out there.
their two dominant wins were the Bengals and the Cowboys, two of the worst defenses in the NFL.
But on the other side, they're also like 14. They've got the 14 wins, and I know that they had to grind against this victory to get that yesterday against the Chargers. But they're the top seed, and it's a wide open playoff field. So I look at to like trips to the red zone. I know yesterday might have been just a little bit different, but they had 3 trips to the red zone, no touchdowns against the Chargers defense that rested like a handful of their guys. I think I heard some boos. I don't know if that was just nervous, anxious boos from Denver because they know they got to get that right. But yeah, this is another team where again it is a wide open playoff field, but with their I just wanted to see more, I think, in the regular season, right? More dominant wins to say, yes, this team can definitely do that. I think we still have questions with their run game with RJ Harvey back there. I think it would be different if Dobbins wasn't hurt halfway through the season. But yeah, they've got a big path ahead of them. And I'm just as nervous as you are, I think, with them. Are we nervous about everyone, maybe? Is
Probably.
it?
I don't think you could feel supremely confident in any
Yeah.
team. Look, everyone has flaws. There's no really good team out there. So that's why you can make a case for many. But Denver definitely concerns me. And the last time they played like a really good playoff team was Jacksonville, and they lost that game at home 34-20.
That was a great game, too. Well, for Jacksonville, not for Denver.
Yeah.
We'll say that
I mean, they
because
did beat the Texans 18-15, which is what you
what
would
week was that?
expect. That was early in the season. That was
Yeah.
right after the Cowboys game.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
like midway through the season.
I think they have some magic and I think they can get through. But it's just I think it's going to be a grind to watch, right? I don't think it's ever going to come in dominant fashion. If it does in the playoffs, like that's fantastic for them. But I do think defense, like we've said before, has the opportunity to win championships, and that's still a really good defense along with the Seahawks that have kept them in games.
So depending on how you have your bracket filled out, I mean, there's a chance they could face the Texans in their first game.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Which would be brutal. I
Boy,
still
that would
think
be
that
such
Texans
a low
defense.
scoring game. Like I said, they faced each other
Yeah,
this
what's
year
the
and it was
total?
33 total points.
What's the total going to start at? 30 and a half?
It'll be like
35.
38, 37.
Yeah. I mean, and listen, did you see that we've got guillotines coming back at Fantasy Life? So you can go guillotineleagues.com, and these are going to be live later today. And I'm going to start some. Adam, we should go head to head. Are you ready to
Do
do
you
that?
really want to lose? Well,
Are
I
you
guess
crazy?
No,
What do
I
you
am
mean?
crazy. That wasn't what I was saying,
I
but
am crazy.
yeah, you're not gonna. You're
I
not
think
gonna
we need
win.
to. I think we need to like create. We'll create some leagues here today, and we'll be tweeting them out so you guys can play against us. But if you haven't done it, if you haven't played guillotine leagues, this is basically a sprint guillotine league, right? Because it's basically a miniature guillotine league for the postseason. You draft players that are in the NFL postseason. One team gets eliminated each week. Waivers run every week, but you can only have, I believe it's five teams, Adam. So it's just one of those things where it's going to be quick. You You have to be careful too, because I was thinking about this today. I can't draft JSN in guillotine leagues right now, guillotines, because you need to make it. It's just like we talk about with guillotine leagues. You need to make it week in and week out, but it's really important to make it past the first week. If you have JSN, he's not going to help you. You have no bench. You can't do that.
Yeah, it makes
Oh,
it
I'm
challenging
excited.
unless you think you're, bold and confident that you can get by
Then I think
with.
you should draft JSN. I think you should draft
Well,
JSN and Kenneth Walker on the same team.
I'm not going to take them away from
Just
you
try
if we're
and
in the
just try
same
to.
league.
Guillotines are going to be live later today. GuillotineLeagues.com. If you want to play against Adam and I, we'll be tweeting out some leagues that we'll enter here in a little bit. We'll do if you're doing the drafts, though, let me just say this. If you do a slow draft, you have to get them done quickly, obviously, because these games start on Saturday. So just make sure you have the time to do it this week. But it is a really fun way to get back in on Guillotine Leagues. And we'll tweet some of those out at at K Valenzuela 17, at Adam
That was
Ronis
Kendall
over
getting
there on
chopped.
X. What are you talking about? You're mean. No. I was great
You
this year
came at me
guillotine.
first.
With what? Telling you the score
Tell
of the
me that you're going to beat
Broncos-Cowboys
me.
game? Oh, well, I am going to beat you. So
So
we'll,
how do you expect me to respond?
we'll
I'm not
figure
going to
that
take
out.
that.
I thought you were still mad about the Cowboys-Broncos game. I'm like, we got to get over
Nah, I'm good on that.
it. Week 18 winners and losers. I do want to talk about winners and losers from the fantasy season as well, but going through Tampa Bay, what our expectations should be maybe this offseason and what they're going to look like. And congratulations here to Myles Garrett. We're going to break that down coming up next. This is a great song, by the way. No? Come on.
It's okay.
You love this song.
Do I?
What do you? It's okay.
You think I
It's a
love
great
every song that you play?
That's true. Well, I'm not
Yeah.
playing it. I need people to know that I do not have the board in front of me. We've got amazing producers. Producer Tim is with us today.
Yes, but usually
Great
when
song.
it's Taylor Swift or
Well, oh yeah, that's from your
Chapel Roan and
playlist
what's the
for
other
sure.
other woman that you like a lot?
Sabrina
Carpenter.
Sabrina Carpenter. Yes,
Her name slipped
exactly.
my
You
mind for a
knew.
minute because I
Uh-huh.
never
Uh-huh.
listened to her music.
Oh, whatever you want to say. Whatever you want to say. We're going through winners and losers from week 18. Again, regular season wrapped up. We're breaking everything down that we saw. Myles Garrett was that winner, though. Took a little bit longer at him than I thought it would. I was getting just a little bit nervous, but he was able to record and get the sack there against Joe Burrow. And so it was fun to watch. Again, took a little bit longer, but he was able to get it done. The Bengals did not necessarily perform well. Did you see that Zach Taylor was complaining that they stopped the game to celebrate him? I rolled my eyes so hard. I said, really?
Yeah.
It's history. What are you doing? He was like, there's a lot on the line we were trying to play for. I was like,
Yeah,
okay,
I mean that
whatever.
playoff spot was on the line for them.
Doesn't that bug you? It bugged me a little bit. I thought about that
I
far
don't
too
know.
long.
I'd look at it as division rival and all that, but
Whatever. 23rd sack of the season came in the fourth quarter. It was fantastic. And again, not much good for the Browns this year, but that was good for Myles Garrett. There was at least a silver lining there for that team.
yeah, that was pretty much it. And then Harold Fanta Jr., who didn't play,
Yeah.
didn't play in week 18, but yeah, it was a tough offense to watch this year.
It wasn't great. I don't think we hit this at the beginning, but yeah, then they fired Kevin Stefanski after 6 seasons. I know that we talked again. The coaches fired today have been Raheem Morris, that was even
Last night,
yesterday.
yeah.
Yeah, last night. And then this morning, Kevin Stefanski gone after again 6 seasons, which is crazy that it's already been 6 seasons, but they finished 2025 5-12 record. And it just was never good. I think, in my opinion, Kevin Stefanski, I think more should be going with him. It doesn't look like they are, but they're leaving behind a mess. There is just a mess in that organization, and I really don't know if anyone else coming in, it's going to be an uphill battle to fix it. I mean, the offense was dismal last season. They tried to fix it by, trading picks and getting defensive players. Of course, they struggled to move the ball this year, and you say to yourself, well, that makes sense because nothing else happened. They're forced to still continue on with Deshaun Watson, and they've got a future with the cap constrained by $135 million in dead cap money owed to Deshaun Watson. So he's leaving behind a mess. It's not all his fault, but this one feels kind of understandable with Kevin Stefanski. Again, we
He'll
never want
be
people to lose their jobs, but
he'll be better off for it going somewhere else. I
for
mean,
sure.
sticking with Cleveland usually has not resulted in good things. So he was a coach of the year 2 years ago, but the last 2 years, 8-26, and yeah, the Deshaun Watson contract is just brutal, and their offense was abysmal this year. But what did he have to work with?
Not much. I mean, this will be their 11th head coach since 1999. Yeah, I do agree that I think he'll be better off. We'll see. He's gonna get a lot of interest, either as a head coach or a coordinator, whichever one. But he's definitely going to get some eyes on him. And yeah, this whole team is a mess. And it's going to be interesting to see whoever does come in what their plan is for the future, because at the quarterback position, we've seen all the memes. We know how many quarterbacks that they've had to deal with, but is it Shedeur Sanders moving forward? Are they going to try something else? I don't know. There are some pieces, but overall just a bad team. Just a bad team.
A lot of work to be done there.
That's just putting it. Wow, you're putting it really nicely. Maybe I'm being too mean. I don't know what's going on, but it's just kind of crazy that that's a real life team in the NFL. Continuing over some of the winners and losers. We mentioned this one a little bit earlier, but the Chiefs just felt like the one of the biggest losers to end the season. Just with Patrick Mahomes and his injury, they end their regular season losing 6 straight after Patrick Mahomes tore his ACL. And yeah, they lost to the Las Vegas Raiders. That game was gross. 14-12 was the final score. We're not kidding. 14-12. I turned it on at some points out of it, and then I was like, no, I can't. No one should be watching this. And so the big questions, of course, in the next couple of months are going to be around Travis Kelce and what's going to happen. But a 6-11 season for the Chiefs, they're going to pick number 9 in the draft. And it still does feel like a team that, I don't know. I don't count Patrick Mahomes out, and I definitely don't count Andy Reid out for a bounce back season. Like, this just doesn't feel like the team or the organization that's just going to kind of fall on 6-11 and continue to let that happen. So we'll see what their offseason brings. But big losers for sure.
Yeah, this was one of the biggest surprises this season, right? I don't think anyone thought the Chiefs would be 6-11, and yes, Mahomes' injury played a factor, but they weren't going to make the playoffs with him anyway. They were
Yeah.
basically eliminated that game that he got injured. So, yeah, with Travis Kelce, I think he should retire at this point. Why would you come back? You've won Super Bowls, you've achieved a lot, you're marrying a billionaire. Like, why would you come back?
Just to try it one more time.
For
Last year,
what?
I felt very confident that he was
You
going to
think
come
you
back.
think he's
This year, I
retiring,
don't.
right?
Oh yeah, for sure. That's what I was saying. Last year, I felt confident that he was coming back, and he did. This year, I just think yeah.
And I almost played his prop yesterday thinking, all
Oh,
right,
what
it's
was
his
it?
last game. It was like 35 and a half, 36 and a half. Maybe it went up to like high 30s.
Hmm.
And he had 3 catches for 12 yards. So thank goodness I didn't play it.
Yeah, it was bad. Who did hit their incentives yesterday? It wasn't a
Very
lot.
few. It
It
was
was not a
bad.
lot.
And we said it like you cannot
Hmm.
blindly just look at the incentives list and just take all these guys and bet them. But only a handful of them cashed. Most of them did
It's
not.
crazy.
Again, the books know it. They put the number higher. They get you to buy in. I mean, you saw these engagement farmers posting everything throughout the week. I mean, this has actually been going on for 3 weeks. It started early. Like
Oh
I
yeah,
saw it like in week
15.
16. Yeah, week
Yeah.
15, 16 with these incentives. And it's like, okay, well, good luck if you're going to follow that because very few of them cashed.
Yeah, it was like we said, it was not necessarily a great week 18, to say the least here, but we're going to keep going through some of the winners and losers from week 18. Going to break down just some fantasy winners and losers as well. But first, I kind of want to go through other coaches on the hot seat, see if we're going to get anyone else that we think might be out of their head coaching jobs as the week continues on. We're going to break that down here coming up next. Oh, Pete sounded kind of sad.
I mean, he
Oh,
knows. He
I
knows what's
love,
around the corner.
I love Pete Carroll. No, we're going through other coaches on the hot seat. We know we've got Kevin Stefanski gone as the head coach of the Browns. Raheem Morris also gone as the head coach and their GM for the Atlanta Falcons. Pete Carroll, I think, is one. I saw a report from Jordan Schultz, NFL insider Jordan Schultz over there on X, that maybe there's some talks that maybe this was just one and done for Pete Carroll, which I think everyone looking at the big picture would kind of understand it. There was a lot of losing this year, and they never looked good. We talked about the offensive line. There was the late season dispute, I guess we could say, with Max Crosby over being placed on IR. There was there was just a lot of things, and I don't think that a lot of it just doesn't reflect well on Pete Carroll. So they might be going in a different direction. Again, Adam, this is one of those things where there's not a lot of time given to coaches, and so once you have a season like this with Pete Carroll, I'm sure the age is also, a question. 74 years old. How long would it take for a rebuild? Can he get there? I'm biased towards Pete Carroll as a Seahawks fan, but it's understandable looking at the full picture of what this season was for Las Vegas that it was pretty much a total failure.
Yeah, epic failure. It just wasn't good at all. And again, Carroll at 74, just 3 wins. So, yeah, I don't think he'll be back, and they'll go in a different direction. And again, they have some pieces here. Vegas is somewhat attractive playing there, but
Yeah. We've said that though. We've said that for like
again,
2
certain
coaching
organizations
cycles.
just remain bad all the time, right?
Yeah,
It's
I
so
just
it stems from ownership.
this one feels like it could be right though, but I mean, the offense was bad, but like their offensive and special teams coordinators were both fired in November. Geno Smith wasn't inspiring, Adam, I guess we could say. So yeah, this one feels like we'll have to watch it, but Pete Carroll feels like one that is probably on the hot seat, could be one and done. One that I want to just bring up to you because it feels obvious, but then it also feels like the Arizona Cardinals are going to keep everyone together, and I just think that's a colossal mistake as well. Again, we don't want guys losing their job, but Jonathan Gannon's sitting at 15-35 for his third season, and I know that probably a lot's going to look, and they might say, "Well, we didn't have Kyler Murray." And that's why this didn't go so well. Jacoby Brissett for us in fantasy gave us great wins, but it did not correlate to wins in the actual NFL. So that's an organization too, and just a team as a whole that just feels like they've got no direction. I don't understand if Jonathan Gann is able to keep his job there. I would be kind of surprised too, but that's
Yeah,
probably going to
but you're
happen.
starting to see reports that they are going to
I know,
keep
that's
him.
why I'm saying it's
Yeah,
it's
it's
shocking to me. I don't understand that one.
yeah, I don't either because this was just a brutal team, and I think what you said, they just have no direction, and
No, what are you doing?
they've been awful. I mean, this whole Kyler Murray thing. Yeah, Brissett came in and for fantasy purposes gave us what we want, but they didn't win any games. They just continue
No,
to
no.
lose. So, yeah, I'm surprised to see this. I thought they would definitely move on.
I think that organization as a whole, it starts from the top down though. I think that they would continue being the same if they fired their head coach and didn't get rid of, like, the ownership has a big question with it, their GM, everything. But I mean, he was hired in part to like make that defense better, and that hasn't happened either. Like on the other side, so yeah, they're 26th in EPA per play allowed, 27th in success rate allowed going into these are stats going into the Week 18 game, and it just never feels like they took a step forward. Again, I think a lot's going to come down to they'll look and they'll say, well, Kyler Murray wasn't there. And if we go a different direction and without Kyler Murray, it's going to be better. But so this might be a pass. Like some coaches get that after a season where the quarterback goes down with an quote unquote injury, and they just try their best to get through the season. That I guess might be what they're looking at with Jonathan Gannon. I don't know though.
Or they're going to use that they had so many injuries that
Yeah.
that was a big part. I mean, every team in the NFL has injuries. We know that. Others get hit with the injury bug more, but they did have a lot of injuries. It probably wasn't going to make a difference, though, this year. I don't think we ever felt good about this Cardinals team at any point. And a lot of people were like, well, Kyler Murray not being there might be a good thing. Now, again, it led to better numbers for Trey
Yes.
McBride,
Yep.
Michael Wilson, especially when Marvin Harrison Jr. was out, but it did not translate to wins at all.
It's just an uninspiring organization that also again is disappointing because you feel like they have some pieces there, or they've shown flashes where they could play. I don't know. I'm very concerned about that one, but it looks like maybe Jonathan Gannon's going to be able to stay put. And it looks like maybe Mike McDaniel too down the stretch kind of saved his job with those, because that was one where they probably shouldn't have been winning those games at him, and he actually came through and they were on a push of wins even after they lost Tyreek Hill. So it looks like maybe Mike McDaniel for the Dolphins is going to be okay, but we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, they didn't quit on him. I mean, again,
No.
there were multiple times early in the season we felt he was gone and he was able to survive, and they played hard for him down the stretch.
Yeah, I thought he was going to be one of the mid-season potential firings, but that did not happen. So credit where credit's due with that one, and that team, like you said, not giving up on him. We're going to continue on with more news across the NFL. It is time for that water cooler, Fantasy Life water cooler, news and notes that you need to know coming up here next. This is Fantasy Life right here on Sirius XM Fantasy Sports Radio. Kendall, Valenzuela, Adam Ronis with you on this Monday morning, breaking down everything that we saw in Week 18 across the NFL and getting you up to date on the news and notes that you need to know. Of course, fantasylife.com is where you can sign up for that newsletter in your inbox 7 days a week and 100% free. And I'm excited to tell you about because they are back. Adam and I are going to be joining a couple. We'll tweet out some links where you guys can join us. But if you haven't played in Guillotine Leagues, this is the playoff format for Guillotine Leagues. GuillotineLeagues.com is where you can go sign up, grab your friends, play the best postseason format out there. So again, Guillotines is live now. GuillotineLeagues.com. If you have that app, you can just open it up. But basically, they're mini Guillotine Leagues for the postseason. So you get to draft players that are in and only in the NFL postseason. Same format. One team gets eliminated each and every week, waivers every week, and you want to be the last team standing after the Super Bowl to get that win. I will be beating Adam in every single one that we join together, but it's fine. What? It's true.
It's not true. You can
Okay.
make all these false proclamations that are not going to come to fruition. But I appreciate you having the confidence.
Thank you.
Going in, at least, and then it will get derailed after week one.
Whatever. Well, again, guillotineleagues.com is where you can go and sign up for these. We've got a ton open and available to you this morning. So you can go do fast drafts. You can do slow drafts with your friends and family. Bring them in and get ready to, go through the chop yet again. There's some strategy to these too, Adam, because again, you have to be very careful. You want to make it through this first week. So, there's a format there where you have to look and say, I can't take some of these number one seeded players. Like, you don't necessarily want to be going out and getting JSN because he's not going to help you in the first round, and you don't want to be chopped because of that. That's the fun part.
Yeah, you got to make sure you read all the rules and understand the format, because that plays a big difference. Like we talk about before the season with all fantasy leagues. There are so many different scoring systems and varieties now that first thing you have to do is just read all the league rules to understand what you're getting into, because yes, you cannot afford to take zeros in any type of guillotine league. So you got to make sure that you have some bench spots if you're going to take players with buys.
And if you guys want to watch some of the streams, we're going to be doing them all week, going through some of these Guillotine League drafts. So those are going to be on the Chop YouTube channel. That's with Matt LaMarca and Brian Johnson. So you can make sure to go and check those out. Gene Clemens is going to be with us there today. So make sure you go and check those out. But those are all live at GuillotineLeagues.com. Going through some of the news and notes here, Adam. I know we hit these at the top of the hour, but just making sure we go back. The Falcons did fire their head coach and their general manager. So Raheem Morris is out for them, and the other head coach that is out is Kevin Stefanski. So these were probably, I don't know, I was a little bit more surprised about the Falcons than anything else, but once they made the news about their GM also going as well, just feels like they're trying to go in a different direction. Raheem Morris didn't get much work over there, 2 seasons in Atlanta as their head coach, but obviously they want something else, and they need to figure out what they're going to do with Michael Penix Jr. Again, this is a team with a lot of, they have strong pieces, especially on offense as well. So they have to figure out whoever they bring in, is Michael Penix Jr. going to be able to, one, stay healthy, two, progress to be their, quarterback of the future. And then it's total opposite for the Browns. They are a mess. Kevin Stefanski is leaving a mess behind, and it just doesn't feel like one season's going to clean that up. Whoever comes in next is just going to have, I think, a long leash at him to be able to try and clean up the Deshaun Watson stuff, because they're still tied to him for a ton of money. I can't, what was the cap? 135 million in dead cap hits owed to Deshaun Watson. So it's not one where they're able to celebrate any wins with the future kind of tied to him and what it could be.
Yeah, I mean, look, you drafted Michael Penix 8th in the draft last year, just weeks after giving Kirk Cousins $100 million.
Yeah.
So then Cousins gets benched, Penix comes in, shows a little bit, and then really didn't show much this year. It was very inconsistent, then tears the ACL.
Yeah.
And again, I think it was, the division was there for the taking. I think that's what makes it frustrating from an Atlanta viewpoint, but we know how it is in the NFL. You just don't get a big window. It is a tough profession because most of the time you do not get time to fix it.
No.
Results are expected immediately.
Yeah, that's why I think the Lions have gone about it the right way, but that loss, I mean, the stretch that they've had and not going to the playoffs is obviously one that's going to be tough. But I do think like when we look at teams that have been built what feels like correctly, or at least given the correct amount of time, it does feel like you can look at the Lions and say, well, they were able to trust the process, trust, the draft process as well, and trust their head coach and their coaches. But man, that was a bad stretch. And I saw a quote from Dan Campbell yesterday saying the nucleus of our team is right, but they're going to make a few changes this offseason. Again, it was a 9-8 record. Which to some will say, okay, that's good, that's a good season, but to the Lions, they were set on the playoffs, which makes sense because we talk about the Super Bowl window all the time and how when does that Super Bowl window close? I don't think it's closed for them, but you look at the division as a whole, that's getting a lot better, and it does feel like now it's going to continue being an uphill battle. But they do have pieces like Dan Campbell said. We'll just see if they're able to change it up a little bit going into 2026.
Yeah, just too many bad losses down the stretch. The division was tough, and I think we'd all prefer to see Detroit in the postseason than Carolina. But
Yeah, we
unfortunately, we
would.
we do have to get a division winner from the South, and yeah, it's unfortunate. The defense did not play well. The offense too. At times, they had some injuries on the offensive line, but there were too many games down the stretch where the offense didn't come through, and too many bad losses down the stretch for Detroit to send them home. But they did show up to play against Chicago,
Yeah,
and
they did.
Chicago did lose, but still wind up being the 2 seed because Philadelphia did not play their starters and also lost to Washington.
That felt weird. Nick Sirianni after that game said there was no regrets about resting players because being healthy is a big deal. But at the time, it did feel a little bit off that, even with Chicago's loss, you were looking saying, okay, are they going to be able to do this? But yeah, Sirianni opted to rest the starters for the Eagles, which again, understandable. Even though they began the day with a shot at the 2 seed in the NFC, but he said, that he doesn't regret that at all. And so again, we're going to see a good matchup, or at least a good matchup for Philly. I think this was probably the worst case scenario now that I'm looking at it for the 49ers of what they could have had happen
Oh
because of
yeah,
course
I
they were
think
going for the one
they'd much
and the
rather face
Rams.
the Bears. They just beat them in a shootout a couple
Yep.
weeks ago.
So this is, yeah, worst case scenario for San Francisco traveling to Philadelphia. Again, weirder things have happened, right? Like this whole season is basically anyone at any given time can come in and take down a team that we think is going to, make a run. But San Francisco, from what they've shown for us, especially defensively, or the lack of what they've shown defensively, they just have to be able to put up points. But against this Philadelphia Eagles defense that has been surging over the past couple weeks, feels like that's going to be a tall task.
I just don't think the 49ers can really stop anyone right now. I know they limited Seattle to 13 points, but that's because Seattle was conservative. I mean, they ran the
Yeah.
ball at will. They never really opened up the offense because they didn't need to. So I just don't see how San Francisco can stop anyone right now. And yes, the Philadelphia offense is inconsistent, it's up and down, but they should be able to put up points against the San Francisco defense at home. And then San Francisco against a top tier defense. We just saw how that went against Seattle. They were
Yeah.
fortunate with their schedule. They took advantage of it. We talked about it before the year, how they had one of the easiest schedules, and the offense was lighting it up in those games. And they got a dose of reality against Seattle, and it was a major struggle for that offense to move the football.
I mean, the impact of losing Bosa and Warner, it just can't be understated. That's one of those things where again, we wish we could say, okay, maybe one could make, or it would be, if anyone could do it, it would be Warner making a miraculous comeback. But I don't think that that's even I don't even think that's on the table. And so it can't be understated how awful it was for the 49ers to lose both of those guys because I think we would be having such a different conversation about them. And I still think that there's a chance that they can go in and maybe make an upset run, but a lot is going to have to go right. And a lot's going to have to come together offensively as well. Brock Purdy was shut down in that game. And that was, one of the things as a Seahawks fan, obviously put the bias aside, but the Seahawks defense looked great. And it was kind of a blueprint of how you can stop a surging 49ers team and a surging, Brock Purdy led offense, because he was really good when he returned from that toe injury. And he was putting up big games. He was putting up big points. He was putting up everything, a lot of yards. Everything was going their way. They averaged 373 yards, 35.7 points per game since his return in week 11. But they were completely shut down. And like you said, they turned to Kenneth Walker. They turned to Zach Charbonnet, 171 yards between the two. That was very close to the 173 total yards that the 49ers put up in that game. It was impressive.
Yeah, it was really bad. They couldn't do anything offensively. So I don't expect them to be as bad this week, but that's a tough matchup. That Philly defense is really good. And then on the road in that environment. So it's a tough spot here for San Francisco.
Do we have weather? Another little snow game, or is it too early?
No, from what I've seen,
snow.
no. It doesn't look like there's going to be any snow. Real quick, looking at the weather for this weekend. Yeah, it doesn't look too. Actually, it's going to be 46 degrees.
What? Balmy.
Yeah, that's
shorts weather. You could wear shorts and a jacket.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to getting some high 40s and even 50s this weekend.
Wow, are you going to the beach?
I might. I'm going to have to deal with some real cold the next day or two, but yeah.
It's okay.
When I'm seeing 46 degrees in January, I'm like, yes.
What's that song? We've got a song that we can play about that, right? It's 95 degrees. That's the song.
Oh, 95 degrees. Yeah. Was that last year or early this season? I can't remember.
I think it was last year. I think it was maybe this year in the summer. We did
the summer probably,
summer Fridays. It was like because it was 95 degrees. We were going to the beach. But yeah, San Francisco again. They're traveling to Philadelphia. Total on that game 46.5. We're going to be talking with Jonathan Von Tobel here in a little bit as well to get his breakdown of just the first weekend of playoff football. But it might be a little bit brutal for them. Continuing on here, the Las Vegas Raiders, we saw this one coming at them, but they did clinch the number 1 pick in the 2026 NFL draft. We'll wait and see. We just talked about Pete Carroll and maybe the expectation that he is not going to be around for the next season, but haven't gotten any word on that. They do, again, have the number 1 pick. I'm curious what they do because the quarterback class, not necessarily amazing at them. We haven't gone and started breaking down these guys yet, these incoming rookies. We haven't broken them down. They also, traded away Jacoby Myers, so maybe they look to a wide receiver again. I don't know. There's a lot that they need to do. Maybe starting with the offensive line is something they need to look at because that was horrible.
Yeah, that was
something for Genty.
So bad because, people will look at Genty and be like, oh, what a disappointment. What a bust of a pick for fantasy. But it was not his fault at all. I mean, he would just get hit as soon as he corralled the football. He had 2 100-yard games this year. They gave him 26 carries yesterday. I guess they were trying to get him to 1,000 yards, and he fell short by 25. 26 carries for 87 yards.
Oh, here's the breaking news because they knew we were talking about it right now. Pete Carroll officially fired. One and done for the Raiders. This is according to Ian Rappaport. All the insiders tweeting it now. Ian Rappaport says Tom Brady is in the building today, and their GM Tom Brady and their GM will run the search for the new head coach. So again, Pete Carroll out as the Raiders head coach. Again, we don't like to see guys lose their job, but this one felt like something that was coming. It just was not an inspiring season, unfortunately.
No, I mean, we talked about it in the first hour, expected this to happen, 74 years old. It was just a miserable season at 3-14, and they have to turn this team around pretty quickly. So I know Carroll wanted to be back, but I think it was pretty clear that they were going in this direction.
You think Geno Smith's the answer for them? He signed the 2-year deal. I don't know. I don't have the deal right in front of me, so I don't know what the outs look like. $75 million extension. That was April of last year. They're in a tough spot. They've got a lot of holes to fill on that offense, especially. And defensively, they do have pieces, but like they weren't necessarily a phenomenal team on the other side as well. So again, Pete Carroll looks like he has been fired as the head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders. He did sign the 3-year deal 1 year ago. And he finished with the worst record in the NFL. So like I said, they get the number 1 overall pick going into the 2026 NFL draft. Where is that this year, by the way? Oh, Pittsburgh, right?
Is it? I don't know.
Oh, that could be fun. Have you ever been to Pittsburgh?
I have not. I've actually been saying so I've been wanting to go there, especially for
Okay.
baseball, to check out the stadium in
Oh,
Pittsburgh.
yeah. Because that
There,
looks really, really
yeah.
cool.
So I've been saying that, and I haven't gone. So I definitely need to. So that's why I need to win the lotto, so I can start my
Oh,
travel journeys.
got it.
Just
Yeah, you
travel
need a
to.
vacation.
Yeah, I
You
do.
need like a beach or something, like an actual beach, so you
Yes,
can
that
get
would be
the
nice.
sleep schedule back on
Oh,
track.
it's
Let's just.
it's so off track.
Is it? Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, I was up. I couldn't go back to sleep for like an hour last night. And I was thinking, how do you do this? Because I was so pissed. I couldn't. Ugh, it was so annoying.
Yeah, last night was like a 4:30 a.m. for me, I
Ugh.
think. Yeah, it was
That
rough.
you went to bed?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
I don't know how you function every day
I don't
because
know either.
I would be pissed off. I'm gonna let you know. I'd be so mad if I only got that. If I got that little of sleep, it would be awful. Okay, the last one here. It looks like for the Colts, they're going to retain their GM Chris Ballard and their head coach Shane Steichen. Are you surprised by that?
No, I'm
Are
not
you
surprised.
surprised about Ballard?
No, not really.
Okay.
I mean,
All right.
again, they were off to a great start. Daniel Jones got hurt, and then it kind of fell apart.
What are they going to do next year, though?
Yeah, that's the
More at the quarterback position, right? I mean, I guess I haven't really seen an update on Daniel Jones in the timeline, but it's probably going to be pretty close, if not a little bit past week 1, right?
yeah. He's a
It
free
has to
agent
be.
too, isn't he?
Yeah,
Yeah.
he is. So I don't
Hmm.
know if he did enough. Well, I that's the bad part
I
about
bring
that.
back
That's
Rivers.
stop. What are you doing? Don't do this to us. We can't. I don't. Did you see he's trying to the rumors are that he's trying to get a head coaching job now in the
Yeah.
NFL?
Hmm.
Maybe that could work out. I wonder how the benefits are.
Hey,
Benefits the insurance,
that's the key.
right? Yeah, of course. You have to look at that.
When you
It's
have
just
10
a
kids, you got to
adult
think of
thing.
those things.
You really do have to figure out your insurance going throughout the year. But again, that was a lot of the news that we've seen. We'll continue updating on the head coaching carousel. It's just going to continue to turn. But the Colts are going to retain. Looks like basically everyone. Chris Ballard, Shane Steichen's going to be good to go. But now we've got 3 coaches officially fired. It's Raheem Morris for the Falcons. It's Kevin Stefanski for the Browns, and now it is one Pete Carroll for the Las Vegas Raiders. He is out after 1 season with them. They do get the number 1 overall pick in 2026, so at least that happened for him. But we'll see what else is happening here today. Again, just a reminder: guillotineleagues.com. That's where you can go if you hear us talking about guillotines. Those are live. So if you want to play in a guillotine league style format for the playoffs, they are over there and live. You can play in the free just in the free drafts, waivers every week. One team gets eliminated every week like we did with guillotine leagues, but it's just for the playoffs. So guillotines are live at guillotineleagues.com. So that's where you can go and check it out. We're going to continue on, Adam, the best around, but I wanted to do this from the 2025 season, the best around for fantasy football and our expectations for them in 2026 when we get back to drafting. We're going to break that down here coming up next. It is Fantasy Life right here, and we are going through the best around presented by Xfinity. Imagine all your football all in one place. Easy Xfinity. Imagine that. And I wanted Adam to go through kind of the best around from the fantasy season because we know that it's come and gone. We'll be talking a lot this offseason and in the playoff race about, our expectations for the 2026 season, where some guys are going to be drafted, which guys we're going to get discounts on. But I think I went through a few articles. Like I wanted to make sure that this was correct. And almost every single one had the fantasy MVP being Christian McCaffrey for the 49ers, which does make sense because in the offseason we talked about, okay, you and I were very transparent in saying that we weren't going to draft him because we were a little bit nervous just about the workload. And he proved us wrong. And he was able to stay healthy during the 2025 season. And he was the number 1 overall scorer in fantasy football in 2019. And now again this season. So I'm looking at him as the MVP. And there's a lot of reasons why, but it was pretty impressive what he was able to do.
Yeah, look, and it's not a surprise. I remember saying specifically if I was in 10 leagues, I would want McCaffrey in one because he has the ability to finish as the number one overall player if he stayed healthy. And that's exactly what he did. So it's not a surprise. It was just, you were worried based on what happened last year. Now, he did come into the season healthy, did go overseas, probably had some work done. And I'm
Yeah.
sure that probably helped him. But we have seen in his career that, injuries are always a factor. But when he is healthy and he plays, he's typically the RB1 or RB2. And there were drafts, especially early, maybe some best ball, where he was going in round 2 at one point.
Hmm.
Then he started to move up. Probably as we got closer to the season, people realized, okay, he's healthy. Might as well take a chance on him. And, late first round, I did see him move up. I think the earliest I've seen him go in a draft I was in was 5, but he was
Yeah.
typically in that 6 to 12 range. So you didn't even have to pay a first round pick. So you were able to get him. And if you hit your second round pick, it gave you a great start.
Yeah, he was selected. I saw number 6 on average because of the injury questions and everything else. I remember when we were
So
doing
wait,
our
did that? So
Sunday.
when that's 6, does that entail the entire draft season?
It says on average,
Okay.
so
And
I would
that's like one
assume.
site or uh,
Yeah,
an
I'm
aggregate
looking
of
on
sites?
an aggregate
Okay.
is what I was looking at. But because I do remember,
Like in
but
the
the
drafts you were
question
in, where do you remember him going mostly in the drafts you did, especially the last couple weeks before the season?
about 6, 6 or
Yeah.
6 or 7. Yeah.
Okay.
I remember in the off season though on those Sunday shows because we would talk about it all the time and I would take him in cuz I didn't really count best ball, but he was going in the second round. He was going after the turn.
Yeah, in
But
the
I don't
early
know
portion of basketball
exactly. I don't
season.
know how many people were drafting at that time. That's when you can go and get some values, but he moved up very very quickly. And Ashton Genty, I remember they almost like flipped because Ashton Genty was going way ahead. I remember him getting picked up at 5, 5, 6, 7, 8, right in the middle there. And then they kind of just flipped where Ashton Genty went towards the back half of round 1, and then Christian McCaffrey was firmly like right in the middle. Yeah, but
Yeah, he
it's
definitely
obvious.
started moving up rapidly as we got
Mhm.
closer to the season.
Yeah. So again, feels like we're gonna have the exact same conversation, Adam, going into next season's draft because I just think that people look the same way and have the and just have the same talking points, right? He's going to turn 30. He has 2,284 total touches on his resume. That's not going to count. That's obviously not counting what we're going to see in the playoffs if they do end up making a run. And he's coming off an outstanding workload, outstanding work. So I could see people again pumping the brakes on his draft stock next year.
Yeah, he's going to be a challenge because there will be a point in the draft where you go, okay, am I going to really let him fall far? What if he does stay
Yeah.
healthy again? What if everyone's wrong? So you probably can't move him down past 5, would be my guess. And a lot of the other players surrounding him are younger. But when you just look at the history of McCaffrey, every time he's had these massive workloads, he doesn't play much the next season. And that doesn't mean it's a guarantee to happen, but as you get older, it's more difficult to
Yeah.
stay healthy. These little injuries add up, and maybe you're not 100%. You're trying to play through it. He also only averaged 3.9 yards per carry this year. That's like the opposite of what we've seen. I mean, most years he was 4.5 or more. I mean, in 2023, 5.4 yards per carry. So only 3.9. He didn't have a lot of long, explosive runs. Obviously, a lot in the passing game, which you'd rather see if you're in a
Oh yeah.
PPR league. He had 102 receptions this year. Uh, even the touchdown, 17 total touchdowns is good, but it's not like he had like 25. But yeah, great year. But so 2023, he had a huge workload. The next season, he played 3 games. 2026, 17 games, pretty big workload. Next year, he played 6 games. 2023, big workload, great with San Francisco. The next year, he played 4 games.
Yeah.
This is going to be another season, massive workload. Right now, he has 413 touches, and we
Yep.
still have the postseason. So even if they go one and done, he's probably going to get 20 touches this week. Look at 400, at least 430 touches this year, and coming back at age 31.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's risky, but there's always going to be people who talk themselves into him. So
Yeah.
like what I know it's early, but like where would you take him? Like the earliest if he fell to you, like 5, 6, 7?
Yeah, probably 7 or 8,
Yeah,
and
I guess it
depending
comes to
on
a point where it's like, all
like,
right,
it comes to a point where it's just talent overall, and I think that's something that, we're gonna do lessons that we've learned, and sometimes I talk myself out of players, and we've talked about this even in the rankings, Adam, where at some point you have to stop the fall, and you just say, I think just the reward could outweigh the risk, with someone like CMC, like, and you saw it this year, so I just think that talent, you have to look at some point and say, I can't let him continue falling this far. So I would be open to it. Definitely not in the first half of the draft, but if I'm in the middle or the back half, he's definitely going to be there. It feels like.
this is similar to what we went through with Saquon Barkley last season.
Yep.
And Barkley, a couple years younger, but went all the way through the Super Bowl, had the massive workload, and stayed healthy for the
Oh
most
yeah.
part. I mean, he only missed one game, and that was because they rested him this week. But we saw a big drop off in
And he
the
was still
production.
someone and he was someone I was still willing to draft, but I just got into the point we talk about this all the time. I was drafting in the back half of most drafts. Like 9, 10, 11, 12 was where I usually was. And you were in the middle, if not towards the first half of the draft, right? Like those
I
first
was
few
usually, yeah,
picks.
top 4
Yeah.
or the back half. Like, I don't even know if I had any, like, 5, 6, 7, 8 picks. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I
So we
didn't
never
get
even really got the
Barkley.
chance to get Barkley.
I wouldn't have taken him. I didn't want him this year. I mean, that just seeing the history of that workload. No, I did think there was a part of me that said, well, maybe Barkley could be the exception because he's younger, the way
Mhm.
he's built. But it just shows you in history, like having these workloads of 400 touches or more, it does take a toll that next season. We've seen it consistently.
Yeah, no, it definitely does. And that's why I think conversation, like I do understand the CMC conversation with injury, but I think even more of it now when you look at some of these running backs just has to be based on workload. Because CMC's proven that okay, we can't really know when someone's going to get injured, obviously. We cannot predict the future and we're just not good at kind of trying to decipher when that's going to happen, but we can look at workloads and the rate at which they come back the next season. And so for some of those players, it's going to be interesting and big conversations for those drafts. I think one quarterback that we're not going to get any discount on anymore is Drake May. He was one of the best around as well. I know that we could be talking about Puka Nacua, JSN. Those are two guys that were the best around as well. But I think Drake May as a later round quarterback entering this year and being able to really give you good week in and week out performances with someone that hopefully I saw a couple people send in screenshots of him on their winning rosters for the championships in fantasy. So he was definitely one that was one of the best around. And again, we won't get the discount again, Adam. So hope you enjoyed it while it lasted.
Yeah, it's always one of the keys to having success in fantasy football is identifying the quarterback that is not being drafted as a QB1 that can finish as a QB1. And Drake May was that one this year. Often you were drafting him as your backup quarterback, and he quickly became your every week starter. So it's always an advantage because you can stockpile the other positions, build your running back depth, and then, oh, yeah, look at that. Round 10, 11, 12. Yeah, I'm going to take Drake May. And then you just start him every week. He gave you that
Yeah.
high floor with his rushing ability. So, like, it wasn't a surprise to me. Maybe fourth in points per game at quarterback was a little bit of a surprise, and that's in 6 points for a passing touchdown. But I was very high on Drake May this year and expected him to be a QB1. Maybe not this high, but it wasn't that he was one of the few. If I was looking at a quarterback that was being drafted outside the top 10 that could finish the top 10, Drake May was probably one on my list.
Oh, absolutely. I had a good amount of Drake May. And I think, the other part of it when we're just looking at the NFL as a whole is that he not only like greatly improved as a fantasy asset, but it was his overall performance and just his everything that he showed in the NFL as a starting quarterback was one of the biggest jumps it felt like because he had a 64.9 passing grade as a rookie, which was 31st among qualified quarterbacks in the regular season. And then it jumped to 85, an 85 passing grade, which was a top 5 mark at the position. So it was not only him as a fantasy quarterback, but you saw him get just over 400 rushing yards, went along with just a little over 4,200 passing yards. And he was someone that definitely delivered for you. So you hope that we see it again. It feels like this team can only go up from here. I don't know, Adam. We say that a lot though, but the weapons. It just like Stephon Diggs was odd this year with their usage of him. Sometimes he was not even playing a full-time role. And then the games that he did, he would give you huge performances that you really wanted in fantasy. But it'll be a big question of what they do in the offseason. Hunter Henry is also still a good piece. The running backs from Andre Stevenson is still delivering because he does not care about our Travion Henderson's shares. So I'm really curious to see what this team does to continue not only in the playoffs, but just with the push into 2026 too.
Remember, they had one of the easiest schedules this year too. So it's going to be much more difficult next year as getting that first place schedule.
New England facing the Los Angeles Chargers this week. Patriots are at home in this one. And that is I think that's the Sunday game, the last Sunday game. Yes, it is.
Sunday night.
46.5 point total. The Chargers are underdogs at this one on the road. So we'll see. You're right, though. They did have a very easy schedule. So did the 49ers, though.
Yeah, look, you have to take advantage of it, but you also have to understand that next season is going to be more of a challenge. But we'll see. Maybe they add some pieces for him too, because it's not like Drake May had the best skill set of players around him.
Absolutely not. Yeah. So you're not going to pay I imagine he will go off the board as QB4.
Oh yeah. I don't see myself
QB3.
I don't see myself paying that. Look, I typically do not pay for those top quarterbacks. I did say before this year that if there was any year I thought it would be this year, good thing I didn't take that advice because I didn't do it. I would have been stuck with a Lamar Jackson who got injured, Jaden Daniels who got injured. Josh Allen was fine. It was up and down. This was not a good year to take that quarterback early for the most part. I mean,
it was not good.
You got Purdy came on. Now he missed a lot, but he came on late. Stafford again. To me, you got lucky. You picked him off the waiver wire. There's no way anyone saw this coming with Stafford based on what we've seen the last few years. Mahomes was good for a bit while he was healthy, but Dak was someone you could have got late. Even Jalen Hurts was somewhat disappointing considering the price you paid. So it was not a good year to take the quarterbacks early. Now, that could easily change next year, right? I mean, 2 years ago, we saw taking the elite quarterbacks work, so it does change from year to year. But typically, I don't like paying up for a top 5 quarterback. I don't like taking in the first 5 rounds a quarterback. It's not the way I like to build my teams.
Yeah, the early quarterbacks definitely were a bust. I think Josh Allen deserves round 3 ADP again, and we're going to see that. But the gap between him and everyone else should be bigger, like rounds 4 to 8. So yeah, I'll be interested to see how that goes. There was a lot. I mean, the early quarterbacks were kind of a bust. Early running backs, though, dominated again. It just feels like the right formula there. I want to keep breaking this down though, because, and the older running backs too, we talked about Javante's not older, but these running backs that went later in drafts were able to help some teams there. And so that could have been a key to building a championship roster. I want to continue breaking these down and going through some early lines for the playoffs as well. We're going to do that here coming up next. This is Fantasy Life on an Overreaction Monday. Appreciate everyone hanging out with us right here at Valenzuela 17 at Adam Ronis over there on X. If you've got questions going into the Guillotini drafts, if you've got questions just on the playoffs, or you just want to show off your championship team, you can send us those screenshots over there on X. All right, I want to start going through just some of the early lines for the playoffs, for the start of the playoffs. I will say too, I saw a message over there on X when we're talking about a wide receiver dead zone, Adam, if we saw that this year in drafts, because we were just talking about early quarterbacks that were kind of a bust for 2025. And the early running backs did dominate again. I remember you and I having very long conversations about like draft strategy, because two years ago especially, I was a very zero RB drafter. I wanted to go heavy wide receivers and then get some of those late round running backs. But this season, it felt like if you anchored your team, and of course some of them didn't necessarily help all the time, and you could still be looking at some of these running backs and saying, oh, I should have spent elsewhere. But most of the time, these early running backs did dominate. And so when we were looking at, zero RB a few seasons ago, it did work, but some of these wide receivers in that dead zone around 7 to 13, they kind of killed your season. Like Emeka Egbuka was one for me that just absolutely held my team back. And I think if I had any other pick there, Matthew Golden was someone that was going in that range as well. Like some of these guys really did hold you back.
Yeah, I've always said this. So, and part of the reason why I like to go wide receiver heavy early is because you rarely get a receiver that is going late in drafts that finishes like in the top 12. You had Puka Nacua in his rookie year, but let's just look at the receivers in points per game this year in PPR that finished near the top. Okay. Puka Nacua, where did he go? First or second round?
Yep.
JSN, where did he go? Third round. Jamar Chase, first round. Amon-Ra St. Brown, first round. Rice, obviously a little bit different because of the suspension, but fifth, sixth round, but the suspension played a part. Pickens, fourth, fifth round. Chris Olave, that was sixth round, so he was like the best value of them. Drake London, second round. Devontae Adams, third round. CeeDee Lamb, first round. Nico Collins, first, second round. A.J. Brown, second round. You see that? Those are the top 12 in PPR and points per game. So it's very difficult to find those receivers. I mean, you would have to go down to Wan'Dale Robinson, who is 16 in points per game, to really find someone that was a later round pick. So you see, most of the time we know where the targets are going, and if these guys stay healthy, they tend to produce. Now, I didn't go running back heavy this year, but I don't think it's easy to look at one team and say, "Oh, that's why this team failed." But there are plenty of ways to win fantasy championships. Like I'm looking at a team now where I went 5 receivers in the first 6 rounds. My one running back was Chase Brown. Was a slow start, but it worked out. But I got Travis Etienne around 8. So you could have gotten Javonte Williams there. So there are so many different ways to win a fantasy championship. And I think you'll hear that during the offseason and preseason. Well, last year, this is what worked. Maybe in general, right? Because the teams that had a McCaffrey, a Taylor, a Cook, they're going to say, well, I won championships because I went early running backs. But you could easily have taken the wrong ones. You could have had Bucky Irving, right? That didn't work out. So, but for the most part, if you look at a lot of the early running backs, they did work out for the most part. And it's kind of 2 years in a row. But there were also some really good running backs that you could have gotten late. If you did go 0 RB or hero RB, you could have gotten, an ETN, a Kyron Williams. Now, they weren't to the level of some of the top tier guys, but there's just always multiple ways to win. And I think sometimes people generalize a little bit too much, like, oh, this is what you had to do to win last year. I can find you any strategy, and it worked this year.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you. And I think one of my bigger takeaways too was that these older running backs, I should say, when we talk about ambiguous backfields, they can win it. And I feel like that's what we saw this year, especially. Like we saw Javonte Williams, we saw Travis Etienne, we saw DeAndre Swift had a great season. If you were drafting him a little bit later, even like Ramondre Stevenson, for the most part, had good, like they showed some signs there. So that was my other part, is that because we all do it. Everyone listening does it. Sometimes you just get totally enamored with the rookies coming in or the younger guys, and you say there's a reason why they spend this draft capital on this player. It's because that they're going to eventually come in and take over. And I think that still might hold true, but it might not be a takeover year one. I mean, Ramondre Stevenson, Travion Henderson was probably the question we got asked the most about week in and week out. And when Ramondre Stevenson wasn't in there, Travion Henderson was a huge winner for you in fantasy, but it was never a full takeover. And it just feels like we're gonna have the same conversation next year too, Adam. I'm curious what people are thinking for dynasty drafts, if you're doing them, if you're thinking about moving on from one or both of them, because that's still going to be a loaded backfield that maybe doesn't have a true RB1 on that team. It'll be a 1A 1B situation with Ramondre staying on top.
Yeah, Ramondre, I mean, for the most part, if you had him most of the season, it probably didn't go well. I mean, it was a really strong finish, including this past week when he actually had 2 massive games here the last 2 weeks of the season. So I don't think he helped you for the most part this year, though. He had some games where he missed due to injury. So it was a late finish to the season. But I still think, though, for the most part, I mentioned why those receivers are important. Like, I'm looking at two teams here that waited on receiver. It is disgusting, the receivers they finished with. Listen to these receivers: Mike Evans, Jerry Jeudy, Travis Hunter, Josh
Uh,
Downs. That,
yeah, I
you're
can't
done.
go that
Then
far.
another one where they didn't take a receiver to round 5. Jalen Waddle, Rome Odunze, Jordan Addison, Shakir, Shaheed, Marvin
No.
Mims. It's
No.
just,
Round 5 is too late. You need
and
I need 3 by round 4. Like it just obviously that depends. But if you anchor your team to a running back round 1 or round 2, whatever it may be, and depending on like when you guys let me get Trey McBride at the turn there, I think it was the
yeah,
4th
I think
round.
it
Like you
was,
have to
yeah,
go that
it was
way.
the 3-4 turn, and I
Yeah.
thought that was insane because I told you
Yeah.
when we did a draft together, I said we're going to get McBride in round 3,
Mhm.
and
And
we
we did.
did, and we wound up winning that league. So it just, that was like, I was considering him in round 3 in that draft, but I needed a running back at that point because I started
Yeah.
Lamb Puka. So I said, I can't take McBride here. I've got to get a running back because I know they're going to start to fly off the board. And unfortunately, it was Bucky Irving, which did not work out.
Yeah, it's just I love looking back at drafts, and we're going to continue doing that throughout the week and throughout, of course, the off season to see where we went wrong, where we can right the ship for 2026. But first, I said it before, the playoffs are set. I want to go just through some early lines here, Adam, and go through our early thoughts on these games here. We're going to do that coming up next. Sing it, Adam. Your favorite song.
I don't know the words.
That's that me Folgers. That's what it should say. Kendall, Valenzuela, Adam, Ronis with you right here on this Monday, breaking down just the start to the playoffs. It's the best time of the year. Well, actually, the best time of the year is when we're playing fantasy, but that's fine. We only have how many months? Well, it's a long time, but
We got fantasy playoffs.
we'll do that, and betting, of course. Adam always
Yeah.
has betting. Yeah, we'll start breaking that down. When's your first draft? When do you first do a draft?
Oh,
Underdog.
for best ball?
Yeah.
Oh, for me, I might be later than some of you because I'll be doing baseball
Oh, that's
drafts
right.
and basketball betting. So for me, it's typically late May.
Okay. Yeah, that's not bad though. That's still
I
pretty
mean, there's
early.
people who'll be doing it in February. I
Well, I
mean,
know Peter Overs, our one
yeah,
and
I mean,
only Peter
Pete's
Overs that goes the day after the
Pete's year
Super
round.
Bowl.
He's like the
He
outlier
goes.
though. So,
I
uh,
tell him all the time, I'm like, you're sick. He's like, I know. He does a stream, like he'll do a stream the day after the Super Bowl to get those drafts in.
hey, good for him,
I
man. I
love
mean,
it. He's the best.
look, if you do one sport, then that makes sense.
Oh, for sure.
But yeah, I
Fantasy
really,
baseball. When does that
yeah.
start?
Oh, now basically, I have to
You're
start. I'm a
drafting
little
now?
behind. No, I'll be
Oh,
doing.
okay.
So they have. It's kind of similar to best ball. So the NFBC, the high stakes leagues, they do what's called Draft Champions League. So it's 15 teams, 50 rounds,
Oh,
and
wow.
you just
Okay.
draft your team. There's no free agent moves, but you do set your lineup each week.
Uh-huh.
So that's where the prep begins because do like a 4 hour clock and you're kind of doing research in between picks and everything. So that one will probably
Interesting.
start. I'll probably start my first one in a week or two and do like 3 of those, and then big drafts in March.
Wow, that is
Yeah,
impressive
there's
because
no
that's
break.
crazy.
There's no downtime.
No
Like so
wonder this
many,
guy can't sleep. Come
I know
on.
so many fantasy football content creators are like wiped out now and they're drained. They get a little bit of a break here.
And then you're like, come do baseball. Come do
Yeah,
fantasy baseball. Oof. Yeah. And we've got draft prep, like NFL draft prep, everything, the combine, all that good stuff. So, yeah, no wonder you can't sleep. That makes total sense now.
yeah.
But like I said, we do have betting. And of course, we're talking through guillotines at guillotineleagues.com. But just, I'm curious for you, anything that really stood out to you with these early lines? I know that we've gone through some of them. I've seen a lot written up about, the best bet for being maybe the Jacksonville Jaguars money line going up against Buffalo. Kind of depends on how you feel about them. I've seen a lot written up too about the Packers money line going up against the Chicago Bears. Those are, two interesting ones, especially Green Bay, Chicago. But have you seen anything at the beginning here before the playoffs really get started that you want to get in on early?
Uh, Nothing stands out yet. I
Okay,
Texans Steelers. I mean, you're looking at an under there. I think it's
for
39
sure.
and a half. I mean, we saw the Steelers offense. Now they will get DK Metcalf back, will help. Maybe we don't see so many targets to Valdez Scantling, but it's difficult to trust this Steelers offense. They
Hmm.
play very slow, and the Texans same thing. But against the Steelers defense, I don't see them putting up a lot of points. So I think that looks like a very low scoring game there. But you already
Yeah.
have the total at 39.5, which it's always tough to take that under because it doesn't take much to get to go over that number. But I don't
No
see a lot of
kidding.
scoring in that game.
Are you surprised by the Eagles spread being just 3.5 with the Eagles at home, or do you think that's pretty fair? Because of what we talked about with San Francisco, obviously not having any sort of defense all season long, we know that that's not going to turn around to start the playoffs. We know that when they get the opportunity, they can score. Now, the Seahawks probably put a blueprint for many teams if they get through this game of how to shut them down. But the Seahawks defense just feels different this year. So, are you? I'm just curious for you if you were surprised that that was at 3.5 to start things off.
No, but I do think Philly wins, and I think you have to be concerned when we've seen this San Francisco offense go up against the better defenses. They just don't produce. We saw
Yeah.
3 points against Seattle. They had 15 against the Texans when they played them, and then sandwiched between that, they had a lot of favorable defenses that they took advantage of. And going on the road against that really good Philadelphia defense, I think San
Mhm.
Francisco's in trouble.
Oh, I think this is gonna be, it's wild card weekend. I think it's gonna be wild. I like Jacksonville taking on Buffalo.
That is
Maybe
the game.
that's the game. And that's the first one on Sunday. So 1 p.m. Eastern on CBS. Like that feels like the game that could,
Duval.
oh, yeah. That feels like the game
15.
though. That could be crazy, but it's going to be fun. We're going to be breaking it down all week with you right here and all week leading up to the Super Bowl. Appreciate everyone hanging out with us here. We will be back same time tomorrow. Enjoy your Monday.